Hey Carl, hey Vicky. I'm just going to create a video to sort of show or run through some of the updates. So I've gone through, we're tweaked, but there are some things I just wanted to point out when I send this over, and that is the just I wanted to run through your questions here. So I've got my list here now. The search function. Okay, I've posted a demo up here on Frizoo to a different folder with my copy here. Now here's how the search function works. It's called a Google Custom Search Engine. And let's say I'm going to find some text in your page here, survival. Let's just grab that word right there. And this will even work in our demo. And what this search function does is we actually log into a Google account. We put in your domain. And then when somebody searches on survival, for example, it will go to Google and it will go through alpinesurvival.com looking for every instance of that particular search term. So obviously the bigger the search term, the more detailed the information, but it's only going to spider your website. But these are sort of how the search results. As you can see, it looks very much like a Google search result right here. So when somebody clicks, finds a result for whatever they happen to be looking for, they click on it and they go to that particular page or article on your website. So that's a nice, you don't have to do any work. Google does all the work for you. That's one of the nice things. It's free, which is even better. But it does do a fairly good job. So the better or more thorough job Google does in searching your website, the more results it'll probably get. But I think because you have a good linking structure, you don't have to worry about that. Basically, all the pages in your site are linked into a navigation bar or linked from somewhere within your site. So Google will figure that out. So I want to explain how the search works. You don't have to do anything. Now that it's set up, it will actually go to it. There's a weird thing with it. If it doesn't actually have a working, like a live website address, if we just use a fake one, sometimes it just doesn't show up. So I think that's maybe why it wasn't showing up earlier. But once we put your website address in there and updated the code for it, worked without a problem. As for the bits and pieces down below, yeah, I think there was a miscommunication somewhere. Somewhere in our notes, we had note to remove these things. So I was like, oh, okay, well, it's easy enough to put them back. So that was a miscommunication somewhere along the lines. But you know what? Give us a shout, and we'll definitely put things back to where they belong, and they are now. So that is the side menu, as you can see. And we have the feature video down below, the YouTube video, and the latest news section. Right, that's all back in place there. Yeah, and I'm going to agree with you on this one. Now, I'm going to agree with your comment on the responsive. You know, there are websites that are much better adapted to not being responsive, and it really depends on the amount of content and what the purpose of your site is. And you have a lot of products on your site, a lot of things you want to sell by the looks of it, and because it has the buy now button, so I'm assuming you're selling stuff. That works far better for a non-responsive type of layout. So yeah, now there is an advantage to working with a responsive site, and that is we can target certain devices. A non-responsive site, like the normal sites, we can't target iOS or desktop or anything specific. We just create one site, it works on all devices, it's supposed to look the same. Now there's a couple of differences, and that's obviously the size of the window. Now up here on a desktop, you see we have, you know, a nice broad header. What I have done is, I just wanted to show you the difference. I have nudged the social icons and the search over just about 20 extra pixels. And the reason for that is the drop down contact button right there on a tablet in portrait mode and a phone, the little arrow thing here, because it's, we don't have as much room to work with, it sort of just sits over top of this social networking button right here. So I was like, oh, well, that's not going to work very well. So I thought, well, for now, we'll just nudge it over, and it's just a style update I made. So now it actually sits right here on a tablet or a phone, and it doesn't sit over top of the buttons. And I moved the search over because I wanted to have the edge of the button line up with the edge of the text right here, so it looked nice and uniform. Right, and that was one of the things we could do with the responsive design, is we could actually use a separate set of styles to style it differently and position it differently. Without the responsive nature, that's one of the sort of key benefits we sort of lose out on. But there's that. And the other thing I was concerned about, after going through and checking all the pages and how it looked on different devices and that, is down here in this section here. This is what we call a parallax, where we have sort of a background image in here which looks really sharp, but in the default setup, this background image just scrolls at a slightly different pace than the rest of the page. And we do that by using some special CSS that allows the image to be sort of fixed in place. Now the problem on iOS devices, so I haven't checked it out with iOS 8 because I don't have that installed on anything yet, but on iOS 7 it doesn't use a fixed background. With the responsive design, we're able to use an alternate style that sort of targets the iOS devices at certain media queries or certain resolutions, and we're able to use a different type of style to apply the background image. But now that we're not using the responsive design, we have to make sure that whatever CSS we use is shared across the board. So anyways, long story short, what I'm saying is the pictures in the background at this point, they don't sort of move in parallax like they did before on the responsive site. And it's not something I can't change in the future. I just, at this point in time, the iOS operating system, or like iPhone 5, the new iPhone 6s, they actually are there. They're iOS 8. So anyways, the new system, it may work. I haven't tested it yet. But on certain iPhone devices, you don't get the background picture at all. It just doesn't show up, and it's very dark and hard to read. And you can actually see that in our online demo. What's our client thing doesn't show up on the iPhone as it is anyways. So I thought it was much more important for the presentation of your content to have a picture behind that than to actually have the picture scroll slightly with the page. So that is one feature that I have for the time being taken out. Only till I can figure out how to get it to work with iOS, because at this point in time the iPhone and iPad, at least the iOS 7 and below, do not support that fixed background that we were using. And because I've removed the responsive portion of the site, the script, and the links or the style sheets that provided the responsive resizing, I'm not able to target specific devices anymore. So I thought it was much more important to have a better presentation, and just having this background picture move up and down a little bit at a different speed than the rest of the page, I don't think is a big wow factor anyways, but having the content be nice and readable is much more important. So just let me know if that parallaxing is a huge thing for you, and I'll see what other options I can come up with. At this point in time, I brainstormed, tried different things just to see what I can come up with. There isn't something that's going to satisfy every device, so I thought, no, I'm just going to make it in there and make sure that it looks good, works well across desktop, tablets, phones, and if we lose the parallaxing feature, at this point, I mean, it's not going to stop the process, and it's definitely something I could always jump in at a later date and tweak once I do have some sort of a solution, or once I get to test out iOS 8 and see that if it's something that it does support. Now, I've rattled on for a long time. I appreciate your time and patience. I'm sorry about that. I do want to show you how you can download your existing products, and let's go to your account to do that. Alright, so any of the templates you've already purchased, when you log into your Lucky Marble account, right here, down under the account summary, we have the Coda and we have the Ultraviolet template. Let's start with that one because that was one of the ones you had a question on. Just click the green download button. Terms and agreements, just click the checky things there, and then you can choose your editor, probably Expression Web 4. I would leave it at the HTML5 format, and then just hit download. That'll download a zip file for you. And the same goes for your Coda template. You can get the original one right here. You can click on the download button, and once again just do the terms of agreement, choose your editor, and bang, away you go. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to zip up the site, upload it to the server, and provide a link for you to download it. If you have any questions, obviously, like I said, I was a little concerned with the whole parallax sliding thing, and I know I rattled on about it for about ever and a day, and that would be this, like I said, right down here, this one right here. I was a little concerned about removing the parallaxing feature to the background image, but I was also concerned about the fact that if we kept it, you're not going to be able to see it on iPad and iPhone. So that's probably a little bit of a worst case scenario, but at this point in time, like I said, I just disabled it. I mean, I can even show you in a video how to enable it again. It's not a big deal. It was just through a JavaScript that I've turned it off. But I think at this point in time, it's probably better to have something that looks the same on all devices and not worry so much about that parallaxing effect. When I say parallaxing, that's this background image sort of, as you scroll up and down the page, if you didn't notice it the first time, the background image sort of travels up and down at a different speed than the rest of the page. So it gives it sort of a cool look. It's very subtle, but it's certainly not reliant upon the function of the website. I mean, the website's going to work without that for sure. Actually, it'll work even better because it is a bell and a whistle. But anyways, let me know about that if it's a problem. The rest, I've gone through your pages. I've removed all the responsive nature of the site. I've taken a look at all your questions, and I think I've answered them. If I haven't, that's probably because I've been talking for too much. And just let me know what I missed, if anything. Thank you very much.